He says, إذا شك في أصل الرضاع أو في عدده فكذلك يبنى على اليقين. Also, in respect to nursing, you don't know whether it was 3, 4, 5. All right? If it's 5, then that child becomes the daughter of the lady who nurses her. All right? If it's a girl, or the son. And the husband of this lady becomes the father of this child, male or female. You're doubtful whether or not there was 5 or 4, maybe 3. The Sheikh says, فَكَذَلِكَ يُبْنَى عَلَى الْيَقِينِ. In this case, you build on what is certain. Certainty is that, look, there was nothing there before. Then you had 1, that is certain. You're doubtful whether it's 1 or 2, what is certain is 1. You have 2. You're doubtful whether there's 3 or 2, you're certain about 2. You're doubtful about whether there's 5 or 4, it's 4, that's what you're certain about. In this circumstance, you build on what is certain. The Sheikh says, he gives some other examples. The example here he gives, he says, whoever, and this is for the brothers who go out hunting, and you use archery, for example. He says, وَمَنْ رَمَى صَيْدًا مُسَمَّيًا ثُمَّ وَجَدَهُ قَدْ مَاتَ وَلَمْ يَجِدْ فِيهِ إِلَّا أَثَرَ سَهْمِهِ بَنَى عَلَى الْأَصْلِ. He says, likewise, a person who is out there hunting, he shoots an arrow, hits the prey, and this is something where he said Bismillah before doing his archery, or whether he's hunting with a bow or gun or whatever. And he finds the prey dead, but he only finds the effect of his arrow, or what he's using. The Sheikh says, you based your judgment here on what is certain, وَأَنَّهُ مَاتَ بِسَهْمِهِ, and that this particular thing died because of your arrow wounding it. It could have, whilst it ran through the bush, fall over something high, fell down, or something like that. But what you're certain about is this was the effect of your arrow, and you base your judgment on that. He says, فَهُوَ halal, so it's permissible, it's halal. فَكُلُّ شَيْءٍ شَكَكْنَا فِي وُجُودِهِ فَالْأَصْلُ عَدُمُهُ. So everything that we're doubtful about its existence, that it came about, the principle is that it does not exist. The principle is that it does not exist. وَكُلُّ شَيْءٍ شَكَكْنَا فِي عَدَدِهِ فَالْأَصْلُ الْبِنَاء عَلَى الْأَقَلِ. And if we're doubtful about the numbers, whether it's 4 or 5, okay, you build on the lowest amount. You're performing Hajj, for example, Tawaf. And you're going around the Kaaba. You don't know, man, for some reason you're doubtful. Is this 4 or 5? This particular principle says that you build on the lowest number and then you continue based on that. All right? We have another example here. إذا شك الصائم في غروب الشمس, person is fasting and he's doubtful whether or not the sun has set. Okay? The Shaykh says لم يجوز الفطر اعتبارا بالأصل وهو بقاء النهار. If you're doubtful whether or not the sun has gone down, all right, it's not lawful for you to go and break your fast until you're certain, because what is certain is that the day is there. You're doubtful. You should not act and remove that certainty based on something that you're doubtful about. So you remain in the state of fasting until certainty is there. The Shaykh, he says, likewise, وَلَوْ شَكَّ فِي طُلُوعِ الْفَجْرِ. And if you're doubtful about the true dawn, because we know when fasting there are 2 dawns. It's probably difficult in the city to notice them. But for the brothers and sisters who've been out in the countryside, or where you don't have so much smog, all right, and the lighting is not so intense like in the city, you notice that prior to Fajr, Yani before the true dawn, there is a light that appears in the sky. And it comes in the hadith, the description, it's like the tail of a fox, and that is exactly how it looks. It's a light that appears maybe about 15 minutes or so before the true dawn. Differs depending on the time of the year. And it's in the sky like the tail of a fox. Beneath it is dark and above it is dark. All right? But that light disappears. That is what they call al-fajr al-kadhib, the lying dawn. No regulation is based on that. After that, above the horizon, light appears, and it continues to increase and to spread. That is the beginning of the true dawn. It is at that time that the prayer comes in. It is at that time when you stop eating. The Sheikh is saying if you are doubtful about this, then it's permissible for you to eat. لأن الأصل بقاء الليل, because the principle here is that the night is in and it remains until you're certain that that certainty is gone. Actually, Shaykh Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala, he deals with this somewhat extensively, and because Ramadan is coming, I'm going to just read some of the things that the Shaykh says about this area here. Shaykh al-Uthaymeen rahimahullah ta'ala, he says a person who does something that invalidates the fast. Okay? Man ata mufattira wa huwa shakun fi tulu' al-fajr. He does something that invalidates the fast. Okay? But he's doubtful as to whether or not the true dawn is in. We're in Ramadan now, fasting. Okay? He says this person, فَصَوْمُهُ صَحِيح. His fast is correct. His fast is correct. He says, لِأَنَّ اللَّهَ سُبْحَانَهُ وَتَعَالَى قال, because Allah the Exalted says, فَالْآنَ بَاشِرُوهُنْ وَابْتَغُوا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ وَكُلُوا وَاشْرَبُوا حَتَّى يَتَبَيَّنَ لَكُمُ الْخَيْطُ الْأَبْيَضُ مِنَ الْخَيْطِ الْأَسْوَدِ مِنَ الْفَجْرِ. Okay? The Shaykh says, Allah in the Quran, He says, and now have marital relations with them and seek what Allah has written for you. Eat and drink until the white thread becomes distinct from the black thread from the time of Fajr. The Shaykh says, the opposite of becoming clear or something becoming certain, ضده الشك والظن. Yani you're doubtful and you're not certain. He says, so as long as it doesn't become clear, the Fajr is not clear to us, فَلَنَا أَن نَأْكُلْ وَنَشْرَبْ. It is allowed for us to eat and drink. Look, Ibn Abbas, I'm going to read on what the Shaykh says, but Ibn Abbas once, he was sitting down with his student. And a person came and he asked Ibn Abbas, when should I stop eating? Morning time. So his student, instead of allowing the Shaykh to speak, he preceded Ibn Abbas and he says, when you're doubtful, stop eating. And Ibn Abbas said to him, مَا قُلْتَ شَيْئًا. You haven't said anything. He says, eat until you have no doubt whatsoever. Eat until you have no doubt whatsoever. Why? Because of this principle here. The Shaykh also, in dealing with this issue, this is Shaykh Uthaymeen, rahimahullah ta'ala, he gives an example and he uses certain other verses to justify this position that was taken, this fiqh position. He said that Allah the Exalted, He says, رَبَّنَا لَا تُؤَاخِذْنَا إِن نَسِينَا أَوْ أَخْطَأْنَا. That Allah mentions this in the Quran, Surah Al-Baqarah. Our Lord, do not take us to account if we forget or make a mistake. All right? He says the person who does something under that circumstance, all right, he is like this person if he gets it wrong who has made a mistake. Okay? he says, so his position of not stopping to eat has these two things.